What we have done by putting restrictions on Chinese investments and this thing is, according to me, the worst thing India could possibly do.
The global world is also looking for a new brand to enter, and how an Indian brand can go global and we can take that market.
Semiconductor fabrication has to happen in India, and that is really affecting sometimes the project deliveries also.
India is the global mobile manufacturing hub.
Thank you very much, and it's always a delight to be there at Convergence India. And this is one show which kind of embodies the spirit of Make in India, and we've seen this show getting bigger and bigger with every year. So kudos to Dhruv and his team, for managing this. And nothing could have been better than to moderate a session on Make in India and mobile phones. I think the biggest success that we've all seen in Make in India is in mobile phones, and today India, I think out of 100 phones if we are selling in India, 99 would be being made in India. So that is the kind of success we've seen. Around 10 years back we were importers of phones. Today we are meeting all our needs out here, and right from all kinds of companies: Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Xiaomi, Samsung, and even Apple. Everybody has a very, very robust ecosystem in the country, mobile manufacturing factories in India. And today, the government is trying to look beyond that, because the government wants companies not only to make in India, but to look at, markets beyond India, to make in India and also export from India. And we've seen early successes with Apple. We've seen Samsung export to a lot of countries, and now even Chinese companies have been trying to look beyond India in terms of, exporting out of here. So it's a pretty big success that we have. And we have a very, very experienced panel, as you all know. These guys are champions in their own field. And let's start with the opening comments on this, and then we'll take the discussion forward. And towards the end, I would also appreciate if there are any questions from the floor, if people want to ask any questions from our panelists. So let me begin with none other than Mr. Pankaj Mohindroo, who is the real driving force behind all this manufacturing push in electronics that we've seen in the country. And Pankaj, I would need your opening comments on this topic, that India, the next mobile manufacturing hub. So have we arrived there, or is there a long way to go? How do you see this whole ecosystem?
No, I think we've got the headline wrong. India is the global mobile manufacturing hub. Currently, we are producing over $50 billion worth of mobile phones. That's over 4 lakh crores. That's the number we expect to hit by March. So we are the mobile manufacturing hub. I think the right question could be that, what about the entire ecosystem of manufacturing? Which is, what do you do after this in terms of the final output? We should be hitting $100 billion by maybe 26. Today we produce a lot of our chargers, almost 100%, and we export them, battery packs, headsets, mechanics. A big movement on mechanics is underway. USB cables, microphone, camera module is starting now. Display assembly, all of this has started happening. And the foundational industries, which is semiconductors, display, cells, other raw materials, all of that is underway also. So I think in the next 5 years, we should be a very comprehensive 360 kind of mobile manufacturing ecosystem.
Yes.
Along with electronics, which is on the way.
Yes. Thank you, Pankaj. And next, I would like to move over to Rishi. Because Rishi, we need foreign companies, we also need our own Indian champions and Indian heroes. And Lava is the one that has been, doing this work for the country.
So I was not happy, Pankaj, when you didn't mention Lava's name. We are the only Indian brand which is manufacturing in India.
Yes.
And if you think about the vision, we are also designing in India. So many of these companies which Pankaj just named, most of them are just manufacturing in India. but we are also designing in India and then manufacturing. And now our vision is to see how can we have an Indian global brand, and how can we go global. And that's where we are with we believe that the outside world, the global world, is also looking for a new brand to enter, and how an Indian brand can go global and we can take that market. So, Lava started its own manufacturing plant in 2012, 2013 timeframe. We started our own design house.
Yeah.
So 100% 2G, feature phones are designed in India, and our smartphones designed in India are also, 4G is already out. The 5G will be out soon.
Yeah.
We are coming out with us, the smartwatch and other things. So, we believe that the vision for Indian mobile market is to see how can we be the next global brand.
Absolutely.
And that's where we are, Pankaj.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Next I move over to Ravi, because, believe it or not, but today 65% of the mobile phones that are being manufactured in India are being made in UP. There was a time when people were a little skeptical about investing in UP, and today UP is leading right from the front when it comes to making those sophisticated technologies and making this kind of very sophisticated products like mobile phones and watches and so many of these things. So Ravi, what is the reason that we've seen this kind of a thing, and can I have your opening comments in fact?
Yeah, thank you, Pankaj. And I just like to highlight this point that under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Chief Minister, UP has really made the stride of being the central stage of mobile manufacturing. And as you said rightly, that 65% of all the Indian phones, the phones that are made in India, are made in UP. So there is a vibrant ecosystem that has developed in UP, predominantly in this Greater Noida area, and we are UP as a state is willing to take it forward, and we would like to play in the entire value chain of this mobile manufacturing. We are looking towards R&D in telecom, in 5G and 6G. We also have a good vibrant startup ecosystem in UP operating. So there is a gamut of incentives that we are giving in electronics manufacturing policy that takes care of R&D and scaling and everything. So UP is really ecstatic about how to expand its domain in this whole sector. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not the least, I'm going to Sekaran, who's comes from Telecommunication Consultants India. And this is a government organization, but these guys act as project system integrators, and they are helping in a lot of integration when it comes to manufacturing of equipment for telecommunication networks and in other areas, in servers and other areas. So Sekaran, your opening comments, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. A lot of companies grown in India now, and India being the largest consumer of mobile phones, next to China, there is huge demand and lot of scope for us to improve our infrastructure and logistics, supply chain. Those areas, if we can really ramp up, we can we will take lead in even exports also in the coming days.
Yeah. So great, we've got the opening comments. Now let's start with the discussion. Pankaj, I come back to you again. That how have things moved in our favor, and how challenging has it been? And also, what kind of a role does this whole controversy around China has played in this? Because everybody is now talking about China plus one strategy. How critical was that to swing things in our favor? Like, was it happening organically, or did we also have this big catalyst because of this China plus one strategy that happens across the world now?
No, I think that's a very weak sentiment that वो जैसे हमारी पुरानी कहावत है कि दूसरे की चिता पे हाथ सेकना, that is a very weak sentiment, and I think that's not going to build a powerful industry and a powerful nation. I totally reject China plus one. We have to build our own capabilities. We have to chip away at our own disabilities.
Yeah.
And we have fiercely competing nations, which are Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Mexico. And if you see the movement, I'll give you a statistic. US import of electronics is $500 billion.
Hmm.
China's share in the US import was 42% in 2018, which is it was around $200 billion.
Yeah.
Now, the China's share has come down to 24% because there's something called the Trump tariffs. Although most of the main products are exempt from that, laptops, mobile phones are not a part of that.
Yeah.
So that big movement has happened, but bulk of the advantage has gone to Mexico and Vietnam.
Yeah.
Vietnam has grown from about 14 billion to $50 billion. We have just started catching up. In fact, this year we have had a growth of 250% in our exports to US, right?
Nice.
So, Pankaj, I assure you, in my 40 years, nothing has ever fallen in the lap. In trade, industry, geopolitics, everything we have to strive for very hard and make India the best place to do business, the most attractive place to do business. And the most important thing is that the GVCs, which are 70% of the global trade is about $28 trillion. GVCs are 70%. But in mobile phones, it is 100%. 100% of the world trade is done by GVCs, right? So it is very important that India is the most comfortable place for them to be the global manufacturing destination. Why has the textile industry gone to Bangladesh in such a big way? These are all questions which should come up, which have to be thrown up. That is because not only India, UP, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka have to be the most efficient places to do business, the most comfortable places to do business, which is what people think Vietnam is today.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are
I
not
think-
competing with China, we are competing with Vietnam.
I think it is good that we are growing on an organic basis and on the basis of our merit and being competitive globally. Only then will people buy. Otherwise, obviously it is business for them as well, and they also have to report to their shareholders. So it's a pretty positive thing for us.
Okay, glass half full, half empty. You are saying we are growing on our merit. I can also say that we have lost so much because of the lack of merit.
Yeah.
So let us look at that.
Obviously, I'm saying it's a good thing that we are progressing at least in a very good direction and in the direction that the country wants because of Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. These kind of slogans are also kind of enabling this kind of manufacturing setup because of the incentives that the government offers, and the companies are also doing their bit in terms of whatever they can do. But Ravi, he mentioned UP. At one point in time, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka were the main hubs for doing a lot of electronic manufacturing. And then UP suddenly over the past 7-8 years has come up very, very strongly. What has changed in UP as per you? That investors are like comfortable investing in UP, and they are actually looking forward to coming here, buying land and looking at UP as per a long-term strategy.
So, continuing from what Mr. Pankaj said, that yes, UP has also fought its way through to being the hub of mobile manufacturing. What has really changed, like quickly 2-3 points that I would like to highlight is, firstly, the law and order point is a very strong sweetener that has changed in the previous years. We have a very safe and secure environment for our investors and working professionals. So that is a really good attraction that has changed from before. In terms of policies, we have really in tandem with the industry, we came up with the policies and not just policy formulation but also its implementation. So we have really worked on this, in terms of the social infrastructure that has been provided for the investors in the Greater Noida area.
Yeah.
So be it the educational facilities, the residential facilities, the medical facilities, we have a big infrastructure push from the state government that has really helped the cause. Now, the Asia's biggest airport, that Jewar Airport, is going to be functional very soon.
Yeah.
And a network of expressways and freight corridors. So all these have really attracted the investors from the interstate competition that has happened in the yesteryears.
There has been a sea change in terms of how state governments are looking at investments for manufacturing, because I remember I was speaking to one of the multinational company CEOs and they wanted to set up a factory in India. He said, don't write about it. I said, why? He says, the moment it comes into newspapers, immediately next day onwards we'll start getting calls from state government that please invest here, and I'm preparing this kind of package. And it feels nice that this is a very big change that we have noticed in the way state governments function, because they're operating more like as private enterprises, investment arms of their own governments to get in the governments. I'm sure you must be very aggressive in how you chase these kind of companies and assure them about
Surely, we are really. We treat them as a growth partners in the state's journey to become a $1 trillion economy. We treat them as a growth partners, and we really want to solve their problems and really want to welcome them to invest here and work with us.
Sekaran, I wanted to understand from you that we are talking more from the mobile perspective, but TCIL does a whole lot of host of activities beyond mobile as well, and I think more on that side, in fact. So, how is the scenario when it comes to telecom equipment, when it comes to servers and other industries? Is it a similar kind of a surge that we've seen here, or it's not that big as yet?
Just a brief intro about TCIL. TCIL is Telecommunication Consultants India Limited. It's a 100% government-owned company, established in 1978, and it is one of the PSUs which is making profit ever since its inception. And we are into telecom and IT, and now we are diversifying into various fields like cyber security, security operations center, cloud computing, e-education, e-health. There is even cloud computing. All these areas we are entering into, and majorly we are providing system integration for government all government sector projects. So naturally we look for OEMs as well as the service providers who are based in India, and they comply to the government guidelines now, from the Honorable Prime Minister's initiative of Make in India, and then Atmanirbhar project, as well as trusted source. All these things are coming now. So we are banking only from Indian manufacturers who comply these guidelines. You all know that government itself is the largest consumer.
Yes.
And this kind of conditions incorporated in the tender makes, gives scope for all the startup companies.
Yeah.
And we provide platform for startups who otherwise have no financial muscle. So we encourage them, we empanel them, and various new areas like AI, ML, and then AR, VR areas, cyber security. These spaces, we find that even our own company, we have almost 170 startup companies.
Yeah.
So we empanel them, encourage them. Really, this government initiative, whatever has happened in the last 10 years, really pushing and increasing the homegrown companies to come up and compete. And this, in the long run, definitely it will play a greater role for spurring our exports also.
Absolutely. But what will be the biggest project that you've done so far in terms of the size of the project?
See, for example, BharatNet projects, state-led models we are doing in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, which are all about 1,000+ crores each. And recently we have won data center project for the Indian Coast Guard. And we are also, we got some couple of projects, big projects from Indian Air Force for providing secured mobile handsets. And then providing test lab. And we are also providing, for the mines logistic management system, where the entire movement of track and then the ore, whatever it is taken out of that mine is completely monitored. So dashboards are created. There is a central command system where the top management can in real time monitor the outputs. So these are all various projects we are doing, and e-health also. We are providing smart class projects ICT project through VSAT. So
Okay.
we are into 360 degree in the ICT field. So we are enabler actually now, especially for the startup companies and MSMEs specifically.
No, which is very good. Actually, we need
Yeah.
more support,
Yeah.
as far as MSMEs and SMEs are concerned,
Yes.
because they are the one that they require that kind of a hand holding with a little bigger organization who can, give them opportunities as we were discussing earlier.
Absolutely, you are right. And the government, especially the government's initiatives, which are resulting into this kind of growth, which we are witnessing, in fact.
Yeah. And Rishi, coming to you, in between all this debate, we are all nationalists. We want our companies to do well. But at the end of the day, we are also consumers. We want the best product that gives us good quality and where there's dependability. So when it comes to Lava, you've been there for now over 2 decades, if I'm not wrong, more than that. How challenging has it been for you to, stay there to compete with this onslaught of, technologies coming from global multinationals and still being relevant in this market and being there after even 20 years or so, how difficult or challenging has it been for you guys and how is it going for you now?
So, Pankaj, when we started in 2008, so we are around a 15-year-old company. So it was more of a trading, and then we started manufacturing, and then we started doing the design of our own. And design of our own was something which was specifically for an Indian market. And all the other fails because we have the knowledge of the ground. So, we came out last year with something called a feature phone with a torch. Okay?
Yeah.
And that was a very unique kind of product which we came out.
Yeah.
And suddenly, people, because the people who are buying that mobile, that 1,000 rupee or a 1,200 rupee mobile, they need that torch also. And when we did a survey with those people, we were able to make that, and when we came out, it was a highest selling product. So because we are knowing this market, we are able to create that kind of product for this market. And similarly, if you see our smartphones now, we are designing it and we are making it which are, the Indians will like. So we understand the mentality of a 15-year-old boy or a girl and in a household, and then see what will they like.
Yeah.
So parents of a family, a young boy or a girl doesn't want their children to play games. So what kind of mobile will they like? What kind of camera will the person will like when it goes to the college?
Yeah.
So our all models are based on the design.
Yeah.
And because we're competing, I just want to take one more minute. So, because we're competing with such a large groups, which has such a huge marketing budget.
Yeah.
So we came out with something called service at home. Okay. So if you have a Lava mobile and if something goes wrong, it's because of me. So I have to fix it. You don't have to come to a center to do it. So you just give a call and we'll come to fix it at your home.
Wow.
Okay.
Are you able to do that or is
Yes,
just a slogan?
No, it's not a slogan. We are doing it. Okay. And our customer rating is very high. Okay. So you can imagine the kind of confidence we have on our own design. What a kind of confidence we have on our own quality of our product. That in a feature phone, in many of the cases, we say, replace it. Okay. Because it's such a small amount, 1,000 rupee phone, if I want to take it to a maintenance center and do a complete, So we are so strong in all these things, in our quality, in our design, that we are so confident that we are able to provide a service at home kind of things to our customers. And so we are competing and we are growing.
Please buy Lava phones, huh?
Yeah, you should. Everybody should buy Lava
They
phone.
are Indian brand and they're made in India and now they are also giving you service at home.
Correct.
Which none of the other guys give. Coming back to you, Pankaj, and I think this question is for the panel. I'll start with Pankaj. That a lot of people, some of the critics or skeptics also say that this is in reality not make in India. This is more of assemble in India and we are celebrating too early. It will take time before we have a very deep-rooted manufacturing setup in this market. And whatever we are seeing in terms of this 99-98% phones being made in India, they're not made in India, they're assembled in India. Because a lot of things are coming from outside, which we are kind of assembling here and then selling it as a made in India product. Do you agree with this? How do you see this?
No, we are not celebrating. We have a long way to go. We are not at all celebrating. We have gone from 27 billion to 100 billion plus in electronic manufacturing, 2 billion to 50 billion in mobile phone manufacturing, but we are not celebrating. The important thing is that let's take a leaf out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Vietnam is exports of electronics is 125 billion dollars, right? What is the import of electronics there? It is 105 billion dollars. So they are adding 20 billion dollars of value add. China's import of electronics, I'd like to ask the House, in fact, what do you think is China's import of electronics?
Anybody knows?
Any guesses?
Please enlighten.
It's 670 billion dollars.
Billion, million,
Billion.
billion. Yeah.
China's import of electronics is 670 billion dollars. Their export is 950 million dollars. And their domestic market is about 300. So you can see how much value they are adding, right?
Okay.
So electronics is truly GVCs. If you are, somebody tells me that how can we contain our electronic import? I said, I don't want to. I want to increase the electronic import at least 300%. From the current level, we want to go up. But I want to increase the export about 30 times of what it is today. This is the only way we can build our this thing. India has suffered this bunker mentality of import substitution, and we have not reached anywhere. We are a very tiny part of the world GDP and even smaller part of world trade. We are not even 2% of the world trade. So there is a structural flaw, and it is this mindset. It is this question is reflective of that mindset. I know as the moderator, you have to look at the overall sentiment and ask these questions. But we must remove this completely.
No, but in any healthy society and in a democracy, there have to be skeptics because, we may not like what they're asking, but those questions are relevant. What do you mean by bunker mentality, Pankaj?
Bunker, that is, you see, if you don't want to fight, you get into the bunker
Yeah,
in the army.
yeah,
So you save yourself,
yeah,
you don't want to attack.
yeah,
The only way to grow is you have to attack global markets, get a share from the global market, because we are only 3.5% of the world GDP.
yeah.
So if we keep doing import substitution, we'll only get a portion of that. But 96.5 is bigger than 3.5.
I'll come back to you on this, but let me first go with the panel. Ravi, what is your view? Because obviously, UP, as you said, is a big contributor to electronic manufacturing. This make in India and assemble in India. How do you see this?
I would rather like to disagree that yes, when assembling is a part that going on well, but we are really focusing on manufacturing part, and I would like to highlight we have a very good startup ecosystem in UP,
Yeah.
and we have also opened centers of excellence, and we have examples of Lava that is operating out of UP, and it is actually in design and manufacturing. So other companies are doing it well. Dixon is there. So there is a lot of manufacturing ecosystem that is in place in UP, and assembly is no doubt is going on, but we are focusing on moving up the value chain, as Mr. Pankaj also pointed out. So it's about manufacturing in India and manufacturing in UP, and we are building that working on those building blocks so that we can move up the value chain.
Okay. And Sekran, being TCIL, obviously you have to go with a lot of domestic companies only when you are looking at the system integration work. Does it become a challenge sometimes for you that you may not tap that much into any foreign ecosystem, or maybe into the Chinese ecosystem for doing all these projects? Or do you think you can sufficiently build up by using Indian companies?
Initially, yes, there were challenges. So we had to take up with the agencies which were floating the tenders to change the terms of reference.
Yeah.
But now we don't find any challenge
Okay.
because of the strict guidelines that push for Make in India, Atmanirbhar, all those kind of things. Now even the foreign companies have started manufacturing in India and ensuring that 50% that component into that is from India, sourced from India. So they are complying with the Make in India condition,
Yeah.
So they become class 1 supplier. By that, they are competing in the tenders.
But are you able to find these suppliers across the value chain, or you still have to struggle?
Sometimes what happens still, though we are talking about manufacturing in India, mostly, especially in mobile, if you talk about it, is like ATMP, that assembly, testing and marking and packaging.
Yeah.
There are at times when we found that even though it is getting manufactured, but there are chipsets.
Yeah.
You know, last year we could our project, one of the project was getting delayed for more than a year because of the short supplies in chipsets.
Yeah,
So
that
still,
happened across the industry actually.
so semiconductor fabrication has to happen in India, and that is really affecting sometimes the project deliveries also. That still we are facing. Otherwise, not much challenge.
And Rishi, again, the same question to you, that, in your overall manufacturing process, how much comes from India? How much comes from, geographies which are big in various kind of components and assemblies?
So Pankaj, I'll start with the feature phone and then comes to the smartphone.
Yeah, please. Please
For
hold the
feature
mic close to you. Yeah.
For the feature phone, right now I'm getting around 35% of my components in India.
35%.
Yeah, and 65 is still coming from say China or Taiwan or somewhere else.
Okay.
And it has been slowly developed.
Okay.
For the first time within Uttar Pradesh, we were able to find a company where we are working and trying to, I'm using the word researching or experimenting,
Yeah.
to create tools and molds. These are very basic things, but it was not happening in India. The kind of critical products or tools required to make them were not there, but people
Yeah.
were investing.
Yeah.
I recently came across a company, in a camera, which we see as a camera, there are 5 different things: a
Yeah.
lens, a sensor, a module, a small machine, motor, and then a software algorithm. All 5 used to be imported. Okay, even an algorithm. Okay, so we were not even making an algorithm of our own.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a company which is having their manufacturing lens and module. The sensor is still coming and imported, and the motor is getting imported. We are now working with one of the IITs to develop that algorithm.
Oh, which is
Okay.
nice.
So, sometimes I feel an Indian entrepreneur or Indian brand needs to start working as creating that ecosystem partner and start developing them. While the government is doing a lot,
Yeah.
and many of the research organizations like IITs have done excellent job, but they are not getting into the enterprises or the commercial level.
Yeah.
So that academia industry connect was more or less negligible, which we as an organization are trying for mobile at least, and trying to work with many of the IITs, what they have done, and do what we can try to use it.
Yeah.
And many of the enterprises have started seeing, okay, there is a company called Lava which can buy. Okay, if we invest, will you buy? Okay, and
Yeah.
they're saying, yeah, okay, let's do it. Okay, if
Yeah.
you are able to produce something for me at a similar kind of price, I'll be able to buy it from you. So, whether it's
Obviously, which is very comforting for anybody doing research. Obviously,
Correct.
they want a customer.
Yeah. So many times the research is already done in an IIT or in any other institution, or
Yeah.
they can buy the technology from outside, but they are not having a customer in India.
Yeah.
And for at least for the mobile, we have been able to work as a customer also and say,
Yeah.
okay, if you are able to give me this quality at this price, I'll buy it from you. And now it's a target for them. Okay. And if they are able to provide me that, so out of these 100% in feature phone, 35% we have been able to do. For around 10 to 20%, there are some experiments and research and few things happening. And there are like the chipset. Chipset is still coming from outside. I don't know how long it's going to take. And there are many components which might continue coming from outside for long. But on the smartphone, that percentage is not that high. The 35%, it's only 10% we can do it in India. So there are a lot of things which we have to import. But I'm expecting with a lot of push from the government, lot of incentives,
Yeah.
we will be in a position to get a much larger ecosystem created and the components getting manufactured.
It's a step-by-step process. I'm sure
It is a
that as the
step-by-step
scale is
process.
there and as the desirability is there of Make in India.
Yeah.
But Pankaj, you said that we should not have the bunker mentality. Then let me ask you, how do you see China? What are your views on China? Is it like, should we stay away from China? Should we learn from China? Should we collaborate from China, and should we take components from China as per you? Because you represent the mobile industry. Would you recommend that let's not have any kind of engagement with China, or would you say no, we have to learn from China and we also have to buy from China? What is your view on this?
You see, the difference between daft and deft is only the E and the A.
Okay.
Right. I think that answers the question to a large extent, but I'll elaborate further. China built its mobile and electronic industry on 3 enemy countries: Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. They were on war with these companies, and now they are collaborating extensively with Vietnam. In fact, US and China were enemies. Technology, investment, skills, manpower. For 2 decades, China built its industry on these enemies, right? That is a smart thing to do. What we have done by putting restrictions on Chinese investments and this thing is, according to me, the worst thing India could possibly do. The worst thing India can possibly do, right? Because what has happened is it is reduced our value addition, the growth of value addition very drastically.
Yeah.
Because personnel are not able to travel properly and so on and so forth. So we have to build a very strong industry, and we have to be open to the entire world for investment, for technology, for skills,
Yeah.
and for technical manpower. That is the right thing to do.
So rather than seeing them as enemy, we should look at them as partners and collaborators in this effort towards.
They are imports. Every industry of India is dependent on China, and electronics more so.
So that gets me to this another question for the entire panel. And Pankaj, again I'll start with you. That while you say that we should have a collaborative approach when we deal with China, even though we have a lot of differences with them, increasingly we've seen this new concept about trusted sources. Malware, cyber attacks are a reality today, and governments across the world. And it's not only India. Everybody wants to have their own strong domestic manufacturing ecosystem so that they can tackle this kind of cyber war from other countries. And when you say that we have to collaborate, we also have to be mindful of the fact that if we are not sourcing from within the country, we are more prone to these kind of stealth attacks from from any country, and more so from countries who we don't see as very friendly nations and friendly partners. So don't we run the risk of being more prone to such kind of cyber attacks and stealth attacks if we, for example, buy increasingly more from China? Trusted source. What is your view on that?
You see, there is a whole movement going on, IPEF, Quad. These are forums where and structures which are meant to bring trusted partners together. People who have understanding the system of governance is a democracy. There is, you answer, there are institutions are independent, which are the kind of countries we and US are. But this is a long haul. Obviously, we have to be, it is a no-brainer that we have to be, security is paramount, and that has to be the best. But I'm not sure when you are getting a battery cell or getting that technology from China, which security is compromised. So what we have done is we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater by this mindless obsession, because the message is look after national security. How it is being interpreted is something we know that it has not been done in a very sophisticated manner.
So I don't know whether we should blame the bureaucracy for that, Ravi. What is your view that bureaucrats just take some signaling and then just go for a carpet bombing? That I've been told that be mindful of this country, place restrictions, and then everything from that country comes under some watch. Do you think that bureaucracy sometimes acts more as a retardant than kind of facilitator?
So I would like to just highlight this point that yes, we need to strike a balance in this respect. That obviously national security is definitely is of paramount importance, but we need to also learn along the way, and so that balance has to be stricken. And I think we are doing a good job in the overall policy of the government of India and MIT. The state government bureaucracy has delivered to the place where we are right now. And but we are really looking forward to striking that balance, finding that sweet balance, and learning along the way to move up the value chain.
Do you also chase companies from China that you think can invest, or you don't?
Yeah, we work in the overall the boundaries that have been set up by the Government of India policy. But
Okay.
yes, we are also looking to the investors that from China and other countries.
Okay. And Sekran, the same question to you about these trusted sources and about dealing with companies, maybe network providers from China. So have you blocked them already, or?
We have to obviously follow government guidelines, standard
Okay.
conditions. First and foremost, in order to be self-reliant, that is what the government wants.
Yeah.
We need to study how China has transformed into a big manufacturer and exporter in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
See, they have provided the entire ecosystem for the local manufacturers in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the supply chain, the raw material, and the vertical integration. The whole ecosystem they provided, and that has resulted into this kind of results. Now, India, yes, we are partly into now manufacturing, but in order to be complete end-to-end enabler, government has to play enabler role, and the industries will be definitely looking for kind of push from government in terms of PLI or other schemes in the years to come.
Yeah. And Rishi, I remember that Lava was one of the very important companies in India that had an R&D setup in China.
Yeah.
Now, from the very beginning, I think you shut it down later.
No, it was
but
not. I will not call it shut it down. It was a strategy. I will
Do
say.
you regret that? Because
No.
speed and scale comes from there, and a lot of learnings comes from there.
So, Pankaj, we had 600 people sitting, R&D center in China. With 100 of them were Indians. That 100 are still with us, and that 500 in China is now around 40 or 50, or maybe 5 or 10. So it's not that we have closed, but we have been able to create that knowledge from there and brought them back to India. So it was a few years kind of action that we did, and we worked on that kind of strategy, having a 600 people team in China with 100 of them were Indians who came back, and then we started growing our India team and started reducing the China team. So it was not that we shut it down. We still have a very, very small team there. But coming to that trusted one and the kind of government policy, in my view, if there is a technology that exists, people can start using it in a negative way and start hacking and start doing something wrong. It's not that we can stop it, because we need to work with it and we have to see how can we save ourselves from it.
Yeah.
How can we have an import certification or a testing guidelines? How can we create a standard which government says, unless you're going to qualify with the standards or the testing guidelines, you will not be allowed to import or get into the country.
Yeah.
Okay. Just saying no, you are not allowed I think is too harsh a step for industry to flourish. There's a need for some kind of things to be required to be taken care. The country can create a process. The country can create a standard. The country can create a test requirement, a certification requirement.
Yeah.
And say, unless you qualify these certifications, you will not be allowed to import. Okay.
I think that's a more healthier way of
That's
looking
a
at
much
it, because
healthier way.
it's a global supply chain that we have today.
Correct.
Let's set our standards and then let it function as it should.
Yeah.
Let's just not have national gain, but have participate in Olympics also. We have to see how we perform against other countries across the world.
Correct.
And that gets me to the last question. Again, it goes to the entire panel. That government of late over the past few years has been acting more as a facilitator in everything that we are doing. But too much of government, is it good? Is it bad? Like there are industries that have developed in spite of the government, and they have become big in scale. Example, the IT back-end industry that we had. So Pankaj, you deal with the government on a daily basis. And honestly, do you see this too much of government in a positive way, in a negative way? You think that industry should be left on its own to deal with these matters? How do you see this?
I am reminded of a share from Shakil Badayuni.
Please keep the mic close to your. Yeah, we all want to listen to it.
मुझे छोड़ दे मेरे हाल पे, तेरा क्या भरोसा है चार घर, तेरी ये नवाज़िशें मुख्तसर मेरा दर्द और बढ़ा न दे. So broadly, at a transactional level, the government should be completely away from business. But at a strategic level, nations today, businesses are the armies of the nation, right? Every nation which has grown over the last 400, 500 years has been based on a national policy.
Yeah.
For example, Queen Elizabeth never had an army. She said East India Company and Dutch East India Company, they are my armies, right? And they fought, they colonized the world, and colonization has not changed. Colonization, imperialism has gone into a different form. The armies, then you had the nuclear status, now you have sophisticated ways of dominating economy through global institutions, through intellectual property, etc. So colonization and imperialism has not changed. Government is a necessary participant at the strategic level, and especially for creating Indian champion companies. I think there the role of the government is paramount.
हाँ. Ravi, मुझे छोड़ दे मेरे हाल पे. How do you react to this?
Yeah, actually, again, as the Honorable Prime Minister has said that maximum governance, minimum government. So I think that is the sense that what Mr. Pankaj also communicated. And yes, government needs to act where it is required and needed. But also that wisdom has to be there, that where we need to step back and let the industry play. So that theme is very much important, and we are really taking care of that nowadays.
That's good to hear. Yes, Sekran, what's your view on this? The role of government?
See, considering the geopolitical situation, more than any of us here, the government knows what is required for the people of India, and insisting on trusted sources is based on those situations. And we should not see as a roadblock. In fact, whenever there is some challenges, it should be seen as an opportunity.
Okay.
That is where the business community should approach where they want support from government. That it should be a proactive approach rather than thinking that it is roadblock.
Yeah. And
This
government is
what-
also a buyer today, customer, big customer also,
Absolutely.
purchaser of all these things. And Rishi, what's...
And one more just I want to add, this,
Yeah,
as
please.
far as certification, now we are not banking on the foreign certifications. Now STQC is there. For example, for railways, they have their own RDSO certification. So
Yeah.
the companies have to apply and then declare all those set of documents and then get it. It's online now. So it's not difficult. So getting trusted source certification is not a big deal. So I think companies should not be hesitant. That will be helpful for them to participate in the government procurements. This is what I would like to say.
I hope it's as easy and smooth as we speak. But Rishi, what is your view?
Pankaj, in 2016, I was in Ministry of Department Telecommunication, MIT, and there was a large team sitting, and Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, as a cabinet minister, was chairing it. And they were talking, and I was there as an IoT expert, and I was there in the meeting, and there was thought of a policy to be created.
Yeah.
So I was asked, and I said, "Sir, request hai, abhi na banao. है ना? Let me try to experiment.
Yeah.
Let me try to see how things will work." And he just looking towards me, he said, "Meeting khatam. Okay, abhi hame iski zarurat nahi hai. Let the industry experiment, and then we'll see whether there's a policy or a regulatory or something required. Let them experiment and do
So
something."
we're having those regulatory sandboxes and all, as they call it.
हाँ, उस समय सर बंद कराया मैंने कहा
हाँ.
नहीं करिए प्लीज, अभी हमें काम करने दीजिए, एटलीस्ट मुझे लर्न तो करने दीजिए, उसके बाद हम बताएंगे कि पॉलिसी क्या करें, क्या चाहिए. So I think what Pankaj ji said was absolutely right, that we need some level of government interference, but as less as we can. One of the reasons
Be
why
there, but don't choke.
one of the reasons why the IT industry flourished is because there was very less government interference.
Yeah.
And we have an example that if you let the industry grow on its own, it will grow. So sometimes, such kind of non-interference is also required.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just about to wrap up.